So this is my lighting for animators, part 2 on the skydome. So the skydome, we went and we brought this in for a sort of an open environment like this right here, right? So I see a lot of people do that. Now, what about sort of a closed room environment? So here I have a shot where we have a little girl. What is she doing? She is coloring her piece of paper. So now, am I going to use a skydome here? And the short answer is yes, I will. Should you? Maybe. The reason why you get a maybe is it is actually more efficient to use something like a directional light and then have that come through the window rather than this 360 skydome. However, that light is not as interesting visually. So there's kind of like a little catch-22 there. So why don't we just get into this and show again the lighting I'm kind of going through here is not how you would light it in like how a lighter would light it. This is sort of like meant as a quick guide for you guys lighting it, right? Because you just to light your own work. Industry, it gets a lot more complicated and there's a lot of compositing done and stuff like that. So, please understand that I'm just trying to help you get through this lighting part, right? And that's really the big thing. So, all right, so let's change our camera. And we'll go to the master shot here. All right, so first thing first, this doesn't make sense, right? Because I have an inside light. Actually, you know what? Let's go to a wider shot right now. So I'm going to go to perspective 1. And I'm going to go perspective 1 here. I'm going to come down. And let's just try to get a little bit of an interesting shot going on here. Now, this is the same settings here that I used for our last video. I haven't changed anything. And actually, I'm going to fix her pants there. Has the wrong material on it. There we go. All right, so let's start off by addressing why this sort of grayness going in here. Okay, so this is actually being caused by the shadow color because it's not pure black. So if I go pure black here, then we're going to get sort of that normal shadow, and if we come up with that shadow color, that looks horrible. And this is why I was saying you really shouldn't use shadow color, is doing something like this while I'm getting some extra light in the room. It's super flat, right? Doesn't really look that good. So we're just going to come in here. I'm going to take that, punch it to black. All right. Now we need an appropriate texture map. So we're going to select that light. We're going to follow this through here. And we're going to go to our maps. And I'm already sitting in my maps. So this is where I'd want an outside light. So this sunset HDR, I'm going to stay away from this because it's so high resolution. I have a GTX 2070 in my machine. And I also have 2 other video cards, but Arnold can't use those. Yeah, I try to kind of conserve the memory. Yeah, basically try to conserve your memory the most you can. Something like this is just a little too excessive, especially in a scene like this where we just have light coming through the window. So I am going to come through here, and here I can grab this airport scene. This is very diffuse lighting coming through that window. So again, I'm just going to grab the TX just to save us some time. So here we have just sort of a black and white thing coming in through that window. Not horrifically interesting. Let's get to the denoiser just to make things a little cleaner. Also here, all these little black splotches. If we turn off the denoiser, we see that there's some dead pixels here. So this is really noisy, and so what we have to do is we're going to have to select the light, and then we're going to come to the samples. Remember I said you kind of want this to be about 1 or 2. Well, when we get situations like this, we start seeing shadows happen like this is when we actually need to punch it up. So I'm going to just double it for right now. So I'm going to go 4. Now as we add more samples, we also increase the noise, we decrease the noise, but we also increase the render time. Right, so we can see right here there's some more things, but we actually have another problem, and that other problem is, let's just grab the camera. So you see here, actually, before I go, you see that black is starting to clear up, right? We just have a little bit over here, in these extra shady areas. The denoiser is still having a problem rectifying those. So let's try to get this working just a little bit better. And what we're going to do is I'm just going to show you kind of what our problem is here. So let's change back to perspective 2. All right, so here's the problem. The problem is we have a big dome, and that dome is lighting our entire house, but we're actually inside the house, so lighting that entire house doesn't make sense, right? And then if you think about it, all the light coming from here never gets into the room. It's only coming through that window, so that doesn't make sense, right? We don't actually want that to light up, because now we're wasting resources, right? Let's say, for instance, we have this this big globe here, and let's say there's 1,000 photons. Let's say every vertex we have a light beam shooting in, right? So the problem that we have is that with every light beam that's shooting in, so I got one coming from here, shoots into the window, that shoots in the window, that's not shooting in the window, that's not shooting in the window, that's not shooting in the window, that's not shooting, that's not. So we're wasting all these photons, right? And we're actually not getting a lot of photons coming into that window, right? We're only getting maybe at best like 5% of the lighting information coming into that window, and the rest is just being spent on lighting the outside of the house, right? So we don't really have a lot of information coming in. And that's why we have something like this portal mode here, right? And what the portal mode is it introduces a portal light. And so we are going to add a portal light. So we're going to go Arnold, lights, and we're going to go portal light portal, sorry. Things going to get dark. See how I got all dark right there. And let's just make this light big. And it's facing. So what this guy does, oof, turn that here, and we're going to have to update our full scene. Should turn my progressive refinement. I'm going to update my full scene here because I added something new, right? All right. So now we see this. Basically what this portal is doing, and this has no attributes, right, except for scale and you know, size and position and stuff like that. But there's really no attributes to that that do whatever, because all the attributes are run by this skydome here, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to position this outside my window here and make it you know, a little big to try to catch that, right? And now say I have all those 1,000 photons, you know, coming in from all the areas, and it's actually not doing that anymore. What it's doing is it's actually just focusing the photons that are behind it, and that makes sense, that can get into this space, right? And it's just shooting from that. So it takes 1,000 photons from the whole circle, and it just focuses that 1,000 photons in this general area right here, right? And then that's going to be shooting through the window. So we're going to get more lighting information coming into that window. And we're also not going to waste all the lighting information that we had before. So let's come to the perspective shape here. And now we can't see anything out that window. And oops, let me just grab that skydome. So we can't see anything out that window. And remember, that's because we had this camera, we turned that off. So if I turn that on, you can see, I can see that camera part here. That's because there's nothing in the background, right, to block that. So that's just showing the background. But you see, you don't see it here, and that's because I have windows here. And you can see those windows reflecting the drapery. So if I take this transmission and I punch that up, then that's going to show that through the window, right? And you know, it kind of makes sense, and it's helping establish a mood right now. So I'm going to leave that on, but also notice how low resolution it is, and it doesn't really look good. So really what you want to do is you want to put a plane back there with sort of an image that represents that coloration. But for right now, as we're establishing the mood and we're establishing everything, I'm just going to leave it on. And then we can deal with it later. So now if we look at here inside, and if we turn on that RGBA, you can see now that there's really no those black splotches that we had. Those are kind of gone now, and things have darkened up though, right? Before there was a little more light. So what I would just do is I'm going to come to this exposure, maybe punch it up a little. Now, what's also kind of fun in here, what we can do, right, is say if we want this to have more of an impact on the room, I can come down here to this indirect and I can overdrive it, right? So I can sit there and I can say, remember that indirect light is all our bounce light. So I can say, you know what, I want this bounce light to be more. So I'm going to give it a 4. So now you see how things have been lit up a little bit better. Why don't we just do a temp screenshot on that? However, we're getting some of that black stuff again, right? So what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to come over here and we're going to have to up our samples again to balance that out. Now we can cheat it by doing other things, by, like, you know, I can bring another light in here and I can put it on the floor and I can just have it cast a little bit of light coming from that floor around, and then that won't, you know, we won't have to rely on this bounce so much. So that's kind of pretty much how you handle it. So let's just do a little snapshot here, and I'm going to go back to 1 just so you can see what the difference is. And this max bounces, if I increase that max bounces, that should also increase the lighting in here as it's going along, right? So you see, as I toggle back and forth, I got more light out of that without increasing the intensity, right? I got a little more fill in the room by punching that out. All right, so normalize still isn't really going to do anything. That's what we were looking at last time. Resolution is actually meant to represent the, the resolution of your HDRI, and the more that matches, the more accurate your reflections are going to be. However, the more memory it's also going to take up, and the more computation time it's going to be. So there's kind of like a, kind of a catch-22 going on there. So usually I leave that at default, unless I'm really care about that. So here, this is meant to be a sunny day where the girl spills her drink and she's, shocked. So this kind of light doesn't really match. So I would come along and maybe come over here and grab something that's a little more representative of what's going on. So Benefactor Street. So here we're going to get those blues coming in right from that sky, right, and a sense of shadow. So more like a feeling of her being surrounded by other buildings, right? And we can just rotate the skydome. Where's my skydome? Control. Oh, there we go. Just lower this into the bedroom so we can, when I rotate it, I don't have to go hunting for it. All right. So now we can rotate it to get something in here. So now this is kind of what makes working with a skydome when you're lighting. Let's just go to RGB, the denoiser here, to make it more interesting. This is kind of what makes it nice to use an HDRI. Is you see here I get different colors coming in, and those colors kind of inform what's going on outside. It makes it look more interesting rather than a flat color, right? So it sort of picks up more information. That's what I like from that. A big thing to notice here too is this light. If I start, directing it this way, it's not really going to change any of that light source, right? Because it's just picking up all the things that are behind it, right? However, if I make it small, what's going to happen if I make it small? Even if I make it small, it's going to be okay. Actually, why don't we just update the scene just to make sure. Another little gotcha here is I don't actually use Arnold that much. I haven't used it for quite a while. All right, so yeah, when I lowered that, we really lost a lot of light in this scene. So once we move this and adjust it, we're gonna lose this. Anyways, I do not use this package that much. If I take off normalize, what does it do? The reason why is because, like I said before, I have a 2070 and two 1080s in my machine. Arnold doesn't use, it won't mix and match an RTX with a GTX. So it's not really getting what I want out of the... Alright, so I'm just going to make this nice and big. Get that big again. Let's update that full scene. Hopefully we'll get our lighting back. There we go. Get our lighting back. Alright, so remember you have to update your scene if you're going to play with the size and stuff like that. Yeah, so anyways, I use Redshift because Redshift will use all three of my graphics cards, and it doesn't complain about the RTX. However, Redshift costs money and Arnold doesn't, so we're just going to go through Arnold lights, and then when we go into like other demonstrations, I'll probably be using Redshift, but the lights work the same and techniques of lights work the same. So and if I get something wrong, it's probably because I'm a little dated in Arnold. I used Arnold a lot, like about 2 years ago, but then I switched over to Redshift. So yeah, anyway. Okay, so so here again we've established sort of a mood or setting or something like that. And maybe we'll just try like one more. I like this cave entry in the forest. This is like a nice sort of green area. So I'm just going to grab that TX so we don't have to sit through the conversion. And so here we get this nice sort of green spilling in. Oops. So I'm getting that green spilling in here. And that gives a nice sort of feeling that, you know, she's got trees outside and stuff like that. There we go, something like that. So we get some nice light getting played off in the back and stuff like that. And of course, actually, I guess I lied. Let's go one more. Let's get a real light in here. Let's do a. These studio ones don't make sense. Bonafide. There we go. So this one here with the sun. So now this is giving us a strong sense of sunlight, and we can just rotate this around and get that nice little play of sun in here. So yeah, and then we get that nice blue coming in here also. So if I use like just a light, I'm not getting like this nice little sense of blue hitting the scene or anything like that. And now what I can do is I can go even a little bit more, and because we're not really using this let's see if we tilt it this way, what do we get? Because we're not using this as a background or whatever, and I just want that nice blue coming in, I can maybe extend this window by changing. Where's that sun? Okay, so the sun is over here. So let's bring that sun more into here. And then maybe where's my, I'm gonna go flush with that, and I'm just gonna use this. And now I can use that to extend it in here a little more. There we go. And now if you want to look at my master shot here, see, now I have some nice sun coming in, and it's giving her a nice little rim, and we're getting some good bounce off that table. And here I just come in and maybe take this, and I still want to get that rim, but what's more important is to highlight the drama that's going on as she had spilled her cup, right? So here I got that light coming in, I got some nice blue spill coming over. You know, I've highlighted this area, I got this nice little rim light going on, I got a nice bounce coming on her. So this is a really nice sort of start for a light, and then I would bring some other lights into the scene. Here again, we have too much noise going on. So what I would do is I would come over here and take these samples and maybe go up to, as a rule, what I try to do is I always try to double. I always, you know, if I do a exposure, actually, you know what, I can bring down that exposure to something, because it's the sun and it's already got a good hold of the sun. I'm actually going to bring that down, because I might be over lighting it, and it's giving too much heat to the image, and that's going to cause some problems. So now if I punch that up to something like 8 samples, and we look at our denoiser, so we're not getting that much of the black in there. Now again, as we increase this, we have longer render times, right? So going to 8 samples is, you know, causing us some problems. But that's basically what I do. So I'd go from 8, then I might go to 16 to check it out. Probably not, though. Another thing we can do is we can come into our Arnold renderer here, and right now my camera A is set at 22 and this is at 12, and I can lower this adaptive threshold. I can bring this down to say 10, and that's going to clean it up also, and then that A is going to as it's rendering and progressing, it's only 86%. You see that it's going to get cleaner, hopefully. Also, once we add another light in the scene and bring it back, that would actually help it too. That would get rid of a lot of that noise. All right, so I think we've covered everything that's in the shader. Again, you can actually, because this is a blue sky behind her, if you really just wanted that blue sky, you could get away with using that as the background. However, again, using a plane is better. So we would come in and we would turn this off. My indirect, we can overdrive this indirect to get more, a little more bounce going off, right, to highlight her face a little bit more. Or what we could do is we could add another light in the scene later on. So, dealer's choice. Okay, so anyways, this is the end of the thing, and I hope you understand. Yeah, when you're shooting internal and you want to use a light, something like this portal light is how you can make that more efficient to do it. And then, yeah. And the benefit, of course, is sort of the coloration that comes in through the window. However, your render times are going to get big and stuff like that, and sometimes you might be better just to use a direction light to do it. So there you go. Thanks.